The human mind craves the comfort of daylight, the simple distractions of people, schedules, noise. Strip those away. Send that same mind into the echoing dark heart of an abandoned zoo, and everything changes. You can almost hear the static charge in the blackness between the habitats, the faint hiss of something breathing on the other side of the glass, something remembering what it once hunted. For 5 hours each night, Val Monroe drifts the vast, shut-down zoo grounds, alone but for the eyes of the animals and the creeping weight of their own thoughts. Trash bags, toilets, and checklist tasks all shadowed by that weird energy that moves just beneath what's rational. Val doesn't believe in ghosts. Not yet. But as the sun sets on another solitary shift, something begins to notice that Val is there. Something that has waited for this night. The first night always feels like waking up in a different world, and not a world that likes you. Val Monroe's shadow stretches impossibly long across the cracked asphalt as Val wheels the battered golf cart through the main gates. A keycard thunk. The grind of locked tumblers. The zoo after hours is a cathedral of silence, interrupted only by the distant, animal-thick bass of a lion's roar. Somewhere near the north perimeter, carrion birds fight over something beneath the moon's gnawed rind. Val, quietly confident and methodical, reminds herself this is just a job. Park services. Trash, restrooms, empty spaces. It helps to count tasks. It helps to think of animal calls as something explainable. Children's wrappers, sticky soda residue. The scent of bleach, mundane, repetitive. That's how you keep yourself sane. But after about an hour, 3 things start to gnaw around the edges. 1. The radio, clipped to Val's belt, hisses for half a second then spits out a burst of static too jagged to be the security team. 2. The bamboo patch on the southeast path shudders in a wind that doesn't reach Val's skin, stalks beating against each other in a pattern too regular, too deliberate. And 3. The lights along the main central trail, which are supposed to be motion-triggered, flick on and off in stuttering sequence like a broken lighthouse guiding. What? Val tries not to think about it. The first major checkpoint is the restaurant near the Great Lawn. A long, squat building with glass walls on 3 sides, reflecting the vast emptiness outside. Val rarely even glances at the open stretch of dark grass, that seemingly endless void bracketed by iron fencing. But tonight her key trembles in the lock and for a split second, she could swear she sees someone out there where nothing should be. He's tall, sharp, a silhouette more shadow than shape, and for the first time in years the tension in Val's gut tightens into a knot of something like fear. She turns the key, deeply aware of her reflection merging with the glass pane in the door as she unlocks it. The restaurant inside is as expected: cleaning lists, checklist, mop bucket, resigned silence. Val is trained to dismiss the feeling of being watched. She's been alone for weeks, long enough to know the mind invents monsters to make up for missing people. But the feeling tonight is stickier, more deliberate. When she opens the bathroom door, she catches a flicker in the mirror. Something standing in the gloom behind her, just a trick of the light, she tells herself. Just nerves. Nothing is really there. As she exits the building, Val can't resist one backwards glance across the Great Lawn. The stillness is too perfect. The grass ripples, and at the farthest end, just before the tree line, she sees a shape. Tall, thin. Something like a top hat or antlers protrudes from its head. But Val shakes herself, blaming her tired eyes. She radios security, tries to sound casual. All clear by the restaurant. Just the usual animal calls. Static dead airs for an awkward beat. Then a chill voice crackles through. Did you see him out there tonight, Val? A pause. Then just a click. Silence swallowing everything. Val's pulse hammers. She stares back out into the void of the Great Lawn, unease growing into a cold, ancestral terror. What happens when a place that's supposed to be empty begins making you question every footstep, every sound, every shape that shouldn't be there? Val had always trusted herself, her skepticism, her sense of what's real. But the night shift in this zoo is testing her limits. Who's the him security referenced so casually? Why does the Great Lawn feel less like a park and more like an exposed stage, watched by something that remembers her name? As the next checkpoint looms and the static on Val's radio intensifies, one thing is suddenly clear. She's already being hunted and she doesn't even know by what. What if alone was never true in the first place? Val tries to shake off the heavy chill, her boots scuffing quietly along the deserted walkway beyond the restaurant. Crushed leaves stick to wet concrete. Far in the lion enclosure, something rumbling and fierce lets loose a vibrating, throaty bellow. But Val focuses hard on the next task ahead: the admin building. The zoo's administration block is the architectural opposite of the open, haunted Great Lawn. Dense, labyrinthine corridors buried in bureaucratic silence. Val's shoes squelch from dew as she heads for the service staff entrance. The door clicks shut behind her, and immediately she feels the pressure, so thick it warps the fluorescent lighting overhead. Cubicles form a twisting grid stretching into gloom. Nobody here at night, not unless you count the cobwebbed stairs of the company portrait gallery, faces warped and blurred from decades of sunlight. Val runs her mop with machinery precision, mind split between work and the echo in her bones that something's not right. In the adjacent hallway, one of the motion sensor lights stings alive, bright and instantaneous. Nobody steps into view. Her walkie crackles again, a fragment of static, then a whisper Val cannot decode. Her own breath fogs the glass of a nearby vending machine, blue-lit and empty. Someone's high-heeled footsteps panic across marble 2 floors up, even though Val knows the admin floors are locked. The mop handle shakes in her grip. As she rounds the corner into the main open-plan office, she feels that nauseous certainty that she is being watched. Out of habit, she eyes the row of convex security mirrors on the ceiling, a view of blank carpet and curved cubicle walls. But tonight, she's sure there's emotion in one of them. Not a human form. A fluttering at the edge of vision. It pulses in and out of view, warping the mirror the way heat warps desert air. Val sets down the trash bag. In the half-darkness, something thuds and skitters off plastic. Her heart lurches, but it's just her nerves. She moves to the women's room, pushes the door in. The smell of bleach and something older, faintly metallic. She's cleaning the mirror with tired efficiency when a single, distant clattering echoes from around the corner, maybe just a forgotten wastebasket rolling. But when Val returns to the hallway, the corner cubicle light is on. Livid, sterile white. On the seat, an office chair slowly spins, rotating as if nudged by an unseen hand. "Oh hell no," Val whispers. She grabs the trash can, but as she stoops, a sudden ice-cold wind sweeps the paper snow globe of the cubicle enough to raise goosebumps on skin. She spins around, certain someone is there. Nobody. But she's not alone. The sensation grows oppressive. Movement, real or imagined, still ripples at the edge of every sense. Her eyes flick to the security camera in the main corridor, its red LED blinking. Her radio hisses. This time an unmistakably human voice, low, almost weeping, slides through the static. "We see you in here. Don't look at the glass." Heart in her throat, Val backs out of the room, eyes shut against her own reflection in the glossy office doors. She yanks open the exit and stumbles into night, gulping down air thick with the sickly sweet rot of old leaves. From the far-off carnivore enclosures pours that feral, hungry lion's roar again, and this time, an almost human echo calls back from somewhere much closer. It should have ended with the cliched relief of leaving the admin block, but Val's world is only getting stranger. Surrounded by the howls of animals and faint, wordless cries that don't match any living thing in the zoo, she's forced to wonder what's watching through the mirrors and security cameras. The rules she's known, gravity, reflection, silence, are all cracking. What if the glass itself is a doorway? And if so, who or what steps out when nobody's left except Val? The line between keeping watch and being watched is blurring fast, but the night is still young, and something in the shadows wants Val to come closer. How do you run from something that knows your every route? Val speeds her battered cart over the cracked zoo pathway, knuckles white where she grips the wheel. Every corner of the property feels subtly altered, footpaths narrowing, bushes pressed up closer, old stagnant water glimmering where it shouldn't. By protocol, her next stop is the Children's Education Building, a low, blocky structure painted in fading blues and yellows, now made ominous by the wrongness in the air. She flashes her badge at the door's magnetic lock. Inside, the air tastes stale like forgotten stories. Murals of laughing cartoon animals watch her with wide, accusing eyes. A draft cuts sideways across her neck, and for a moment every painted beast looks like it has shifted, teeth bared, eyes wrong. The fluorescent lights flicker as they always do, but the flickering sinks weirdly to her pulse, strobing darkness with every jumpy thump of her heart. She focuses on the work. Trash bags, mop water, rug stains the color of old rust. Her reflection passes uncomfortably through a battered display case, stretched into a fever dream version of Val with eyes black as pinned insects. Children's tiny handprints, sun-faded but indelible, line the walls by the puppet theater. Val stoops to scrub them, but a prickle of cold runs up her spine. Was that a giggle or wind? The lights above her hum, brightness seething as if feeding off her nerves. Halfway down the hallway she freezes. There's a child, unmistakable in silhouette, standing beneath an exit sign. Thin, too angular. Back turned, face obscured by tangled hair. Val swallows. Are you lost? Hello. The child jerks its head slightly but doesn't turn. Val edges closer. The fluorescent tube overhead pops, plunging the corridor into partial shadow. Now the child is gone. Vanished so completely Val almost doubts it was there. A stale, static-laced wind flutters the lesson plan papers taped above a display of animal bones. All at once. Every door in the building slams shut at once, their impacts reverberating like the steps of something massive. Trapped, Val nearly drops her radio. In the sudden echoing silence, the PA system coughs to life on its own. A child's whisper recites language Val once knew but now sounds foreign, syllables slipping through worms of static. She sprints for the door, panic throttling her professional calm. The badge reader refuses her card, light flickering red. Val looks up. In the reflection on the glass, something else stands behind her. Impossibly tall, wearing that impossible top hat, eyes two whirls of darkness swallowing up the world. She screams, shoving the fire exit only to find herself back outside. Knees wet with dew, the echo of children's laughter stuck inside her skull like static. She tries her radio. Nothing. The building behind her is suddenly silent, but in one window, pressed against the glass, is the shadowed edge of a top hat watching. What does it mean when buildings rearrange themselves? When every reflection looks back with a stranger's hunger? Val is no longer sure of the zoo's geography, nor of her memories. Did she ever see that child before? Or is something feeding her thoughts straight from the ether? The glass in every window feels like a veil growing thinner, the distance between her and the top-hatted shadow closing with every breath. But the night has more in store. Security radios have gone dark, her cart is inexplicably moved, and something scrawled her own name in condensation on the inside of the lion habitat. Tonight, the zoo isn't a sanctuary. It's a labyrinth built to trap far more than animals. What happens if Val can't remember which side of the glass she's really on? She can't find her cart. It makes no sense. The battered white machine was parked behind the education building, tucked beneath a light that now flickers like a Morse code distress signal. Val walks the route twice, her boots leaving streaks on the dew-laced grass. It's just gone. Her heart thuds as she considers her options. Find security, flee on foot, or finish the route in hopes it leads toward help. But the zoo's layout no longer obeys logic. The paths coil in on themselves, railings arc at new, impossible angles. The koi pond seems to blink in and out of existence, its water black and bottomless under a sky thick with fast-moving clouds. Her phone's display ripples in her palm, colors bleeding until she can't tell if the screen's broken or if she's hallucinating. Val heads for the break room. If she can reach the landline, maybe she can call for help. But again, corners seem to lengthen, hallways repeat, twisting her deeper into unfamiliar sectors. Enclosures that should be distant suddenly rise beside her as if plucked from memory. At the Komodo Dragon House, an old static-dusted TV blares white noise, but when she looks closer, it shows grainy security footage. A looping tape of herself crossing a dark path, always from behind. Each loop, her stride becomes less human, until she's crawling on all fours. She backs away, dizzy, now choking on the animal stench leaking from the carnivore house. She calls into her walkie. "This is Val. Security, do you copy? Anyone?" Silence, a jaw-cracking pause, then a distorted voice, like two people speaking at once, comes through. "Don't cross the lawn." But she's already upon it, the great lawn stretching bleak and infinite, paired only with a perfect mirror image on the restaurant's glass facade. Her breath fogs, and a sudden surge of memory, her own name, whispered with genuine fear, shudders up from deep inside. The top-hatted shadow waits, now nearer, just across the grass, blending with the tree line, always facing her, always smiling with a mouth Val can't quite process as human. She runs. Her footsteps slap the wet grass. Lights go out behind her in sequence. Every stride seems longer, faster, until she feels she could crash through the world's edge altogether. The sky flickers with colors no star should emit. Ahead, inside the restaurant, she glimpses the shadow's reflection beckoning. Val slams the restaurant door behind her. But now, strange and wrong, the inside windows show not her own reflection, but dozens of people's faces she doesn't recognize, each mouthing silent words, their breath fogging the glass. The shadow is among them. The PA system scratches to life overhead her own voice. I'm not alone. He's inside the glass. Don't let him out. At this point, narrative and reality are bleeding together. The rules of the zoo have collapsed. Val's own image seems to conspire against her. Who are the dozens of strangers staring from the other side of the restaurant glass? And why do their mouths shape her secrets? The shadow with the top hat has breached every barrier. He's not just outside, but woven into her memories and reflections, slipping inside her voice and body. Every step Val takes invites him closer, but leaving the restaurant means surrendering to a night that has stopped obeying time. The question isn't how do you survive, but how much of yourself do you lose before you're what the zoo is watching for? Is Val fighting for her life? Or remembering what she really is? Against all instinct, Val refuses to move. She stands in the shadowy heart of the deserted restaurant, sweat beading on her brow beneath the flickering LEDs. Every window shows those faces, a crowd stitched from the memories of other lives, or perhaps from nightmares themselves. The strangers behind the glass seem to count down, their lips moving in reptilian unison. 10, 9, 8. Val turns away, fighting the sickening lurch in her gut. She paces past tables, all set as if for an event that never happened. In a far corner, a forgotten wedding banner still hangs, its golden letters warped by damp. Congratulations becomes congratulation. Letters peeled away as if they fled in terror. Her cell phone buzzes in her pocket, unmistakable, physical, and astonishingly normal. Val's hands shake as she answers. The voice on the other end is her own, begging in a raw, terrified whisper. Don't let him inside. The moment you step out, don't look back. No matter what you hear, don't answer. The line goes dead. Val's not alone. Not only in the sense of being watched, but in a deeper, stranger way. Her voice lingers, her image multiplies, her thoughts echo as if someone or something else is occupying the same mind. Crash. Behind her, the kitchen's chrome cold storage swings open with a wet, grinding screech. From it pours a chill so cold it hurts. She shoulders her mop as a weapon and creeps forward on trembling legs. At the threshold between kitchen and dining area, her nerves fray. The chrome surface of a prep table bends, rippling in the shape of a man with a top hat, elongated and boneless. When she blinks, it smooths out, but the shadow hunches in impossible angles behind racks of leftover party plates. Suddenly, all the restaurant lights pop one by one, until only darkness reigns except for moonlight fractured through the smudged windows. The strangers' faces move closer, pressing white-knuckled against the other side of the glass. Words form on their breath. Let us in. The shadow with the top hat seeps across the tiled floor, billowing like old smoke. The faces scream in silence, but the sound enters Val's mind anyway, drilling pain behind her eyes, awakening memories of places she's never been. She flees through a side door, choking on her own panic. Out under the sky, the zoo feels utterly foreign now, hedges taller, gravel crunching like crushed bones, path lights strobing random warnings. She darts toward Security HQ, but the zoo folds in, the paths reshuffling. She finds herself in front of the great lawn again, drawn back to its mythic emptiness, helpless to escape, her panic rising into a scream that nobody else will ever hear. ## Rehook for Part 6. Imagine being stalked not only by something ancient, but by your own future, screams, memories leaking backward and forward at once, reality endlessly warping. The night is now a living entity, herded by the man in the top hat and all the prisoners within the glass. Every breath Val takes is borrowed, every movement mirrored by faces desperate to escape their world into hers. What bargain keeps these souls behind the glass? And what did Val forget about her own past? When the great lawn calls her name and every path leads back to the beginning, Val must confront a new, suffocating terror. What if the only way out is to become what's already hunting you? Val's mind fractures with dread as she stands at the edge of the great lawn, heels digging into grass slick with dew and old blood. The moon carves stark shadows across the field, rinsing the landscape in monochrome horror. Her own breathing feels distant, mechanized, as if someone else is hyperventilating in the same body. This is the heart, she realizes, the place where reality thins to tissue paper, where rules of the world snap beneath ancient weight. She stares across the vacant field, into the line of trees that fences the world away. The top-hatted figure stands motionless, the same darkness as before, but this time it raises its chin. An unseeable face grins at her, a gesture both welcoming and monstrous. A surge of confusion dissolves Val's logic. Did she come here willingly? Was she lured here by her own curiosity, or was this a memory one she's reliving over and over? The edges of her thoughts are blurring. In the distance, the animal's calls twist together into language. Her name, Val, repeated in a lion's bellow and an owl's shriek and a child's giggle. She stumbles forward, unable to resist, like gravity is stronger in the lawn. Suddenly, the top-hatted shadow splits. From its form peel out several others, all identical, each wearing fragments of distortions, valleys of missing features, eyes leading nowhere, mouths shaped in silent pleas. They march across the grass toward her, arms elongated and reaching. Behind her, the restaurant's glass windows light up with frantic movement. The strangers within slam their palms on the glass, pounding a rhythm. The sound vibrates through her bones. Val turns to run but finds herself on a different path, the path to the admin building. Her body moves without choice, mind hijacked by the dream logic of the place. She enters the administration building, its lobby warped by an endless number of doors. Each corridor stretches millimeters outside the realm of sane geometry. She races from door to door, but every knob she grasps is slick, twisting, melting into her hand. Behind each window, her own face stares back at her. Sometimes weeping, sometimes laughing, sometimes whispering secrets she can almost understand. Val's radio spits out voices, the top-hatted man's, then her own, then the new night shift janitor she trained, all overlapping until language loses sense. Then static. Something heavy moves just outside her vision, dragging reality with it. Through a warped window, Val glimpses the great lawn. This time she sees the shadows face a shifting legion of expressions, all belonging to her, and to those strangers pressed against the glass. The last room Val tries is marked staff only. She enters and finds herself all the way back at the break room, the clock stuck at 10:30 p.m., her own face reflected in a vending machine. Suddenly, the top-hatted man stands behind her in the glass, whispering, "You know this isn't the first time, Val. How many times will you run the night shift before you remember? When the corridors of your life start repeating, when voices become a chorus of your own despair, where does freedom end and fate begin?" Val's reliving not just her fears but her entire history in this zoo. As if each night is a ritual she's never managed to escape. The top-hatted shadow flickers from tormentor to confidant. The glass a prison and maybe a mirror trapping echoes of every lost soul that's worked here before. What if the only exit isn't out but through? Val's next choice will shatter not just the zoo's rules, but the boundaries of her identity itself. Whose memories is she really living? Val stares at the smeared vending machine reflection, body frozen by a coldness from within. The break room clock is broken, always displaying 10:30. Hands stuck just as Val herself feels stuck inside a memory that refuses to finish. She hears her pulse, a slow drumbeat, matching the knocking from before the glass, the doors, her bones. A metallic rattle comes from the cabinet beside the fridge. It's the security logbook spread open to a yellowing page. Val glances down. Names fill the columns in faded pen, each crossed out, except for one, a name Val doesn't recognize at first. Valeria Moon. Not Monroe. Smaller notes in a handwriting she knows aren't hers say, "Promoted to day shift. Do not disturb. Return if failed protocol." Val's hands tremble as the world unnerves around her. The lights overhead buzz and dim. From behind the glass of the cabinet emerges a phantasm of herself in a dirty night uniform, eyes hollow, lips trying to form words soundlessly. It mouths, "This isn't your first night. You know what comes next." A distant roar echoes, half animal, half human, and much closer than before. Every door out of the break room is closed tight. Val tries her badge. Each reader blinks red. Then the PA, her own voice recording, crackles. "Attention. All night staff must proceed to children's education for closing protocol. Do not deviate. Follow instructions precisely. Val wants to resist, but her feet move on their own. Out of the break room, out into shifting hallways, which bulge wider, distorting, as though pushed out from within by invisible claws or a rotten idea made real. She passes the admin offices. The motion sensor lights snap on sequentially, one after another, bathing cubicles in a nauseating blue. Each cubicle is occupied now by a hunched figure, each every bit as familiar as herself, but with faces blurred out, scrubbed away as if even memory fears their features. One by one, the blurred figures raise their heads. Every movement synced. Slowly they smile. Val stumbles away in terror, down the corridor into a stairwell that shouldn't exist. She climbs, the air thinning no matter how hard she breathes, feeling more animal than person. At the top, a single door. Children's education. A bare light bulb flickers as she enters. The whole room is rearranged. Child-sized chairs form a ring. Stuffed animals sit with broken glass eyes, all pointed toward a blackboard. Chalk written in looping hand. Val, we were waiting. The door slams. The glass on the cabinets ripple, almost liquefying. The top-hatted shadow appearing pressed against every surface. From all around comes that ancient whimper of voices, the strangers, the children, and Val's voices, overlapping into a swelling hymn of terror and memory. They chant, "How many times have you watched yourself be trapped? What did you promise the shadow to get this far? Which life is this, Valeria? Which version will finally unlock the day shift? And which will you doom forever?" Val howls and punches at the glass. A single drop of blood trickles down. The man in the top hat presses his palm up against the other side. And this time so does Val. What ancient pact binds the souls to the glass? Sentences every new night worker to run endless loops until the bargain is either fulfilled or broken. Val's story is revealed as only the latest retelling in an endless, echoing curse, but is she merely a victim, or its author? Each action, each wound, each scream is mirrored by that patient shadow, whose motivations seem almost familial. As the line between captor and prisoner dissolves, Val is forced to admit that every shift she survives might mean condemning another, maybe even someone she once loved. The glass begins to crack, but what if shattering it only lets what's inside out? What price will Val pay to end her story, and whose nightmare will begin if she succeeds? Everything stops. Time already meaningless freezes inside the education center. Val's bleeding knuckles drip to the floor, splashing not as liquid but as tiny shards, glass fractals refracting crimson back at her. On the other side of the cabinet's rippling surface, the top-hatted shadow's hand meets hers, moving in perfect mirror. But now she swears she feels warmth against her own skin. The air is heavy with old animal scents and the dry fear of generations. Val is no longer alone. Behind her, the ring of stuffed animals shift, watching, filling the room with a pressure that might be hope or hunger. The shadow finally speaks, mouth opening impossibly wide, voice low and echoing every syllable of her inner thoughts. This place eats memory until only fear is left. Every night you run, a piece of yourself stays behind, waiting its turn. Isn't that justice for how you watched? For how you stayed silent on the day we bled? Images flash. Kids on field trips, the excitement and awe, and something she's always ignored, a security incident. Blood on her hands, a promise to never say a word. The administration's hush, the bad for the zoo lie, and a memory of a girl huddled behind the education building, sobbing as the night fell. Is this your revenge? Val gasps. The shadow's mouth twitches. Revenge is too small. This is remembrance. The education center stretches, the chalkboard now swirling with handwriting she's never seen, describing night shifts, promotions, mental breakdowns, and always ending with a return to the glass, to the top-hatted man waiting for the next shift, the next story. Lightning shivers outside. The great lawn flashes into focus through the window, and Val finally sees not one shadow, but many crowded together, each with a badge, each with her face or those she faintly remembers from years and realities past. All forever returning. Just as suddenly, the echoes stop except for a single child's voice, right behind her. "I'm scared. Please help me." Val spins. There's the little girl from the field trip years ago. Eyes wide, hands clutching the zoo map. She looks up at Val, tears running hot and real and impossibly now. The glass in the cabinet cracks, spiderweb lines radiating from Val's hand in time with her racing, guilt-ridden heart. "You can free me," the child says softly. "How?" Val asks. The child points out past the breaking glass, the ring of animals, into the night beyond the lawn. "You only have to finally see what you tried to forget." Glass shatters behind her. The man in the top hat emerges step by step, impossibly tall, filling the room, and Val realizes she knows him. She knows him intimately. If every horror is the shadow of a memory we've refused to face, then what happens when we're finally forced to confront its eyes, its voice, its inescapable embrace? Val's mind trembles on the very edge. The child she abandoned, the guilt she repressed, the shadow she became, all converge in the education center as the glass barrier at last breaks. But now, with the past roaring in and the night threatening to rewrite itself again, she must choose. Accept her own monstrous role, or let the curse of the glass claim another memory forever. The man in the top hat steps fully into the world, and on his face, the face of someone she once trusted most, waits a truth more terrifying than being consumed. When you're your own worst omen, can you save anyone from what's inside the glass? The gale from the broken cabinet nearly knocks Val to her knees, razor-like glass twisting through midair as if propelled by unspeakable resentment. The man in the top hat crosses the threshold, impossibly tall, the edges of his body flickering with static and tangled memories. His face, once just shadow, settles bit by bit into sharp focus. Val's vision tunnels. Eyes dark brown like her father's. A jaw she's seen in every photo of herself. Recognition sears her. This shadow is not a stranger, not some mythical thing haunting the zoo. The ghost has always been of lineage shaped by legacy, regret, and the price of knowing. She chokes. The murals on the walls melt into scenes that never made it to the news. Shame, cruelty, accidental injuries, silent complicities. All the night workers who signed NDAs. Those promoted to day shift, only after surviving a psychic trial none could describe. Every time, something lost in translation, becoming part of the mythos. Fuel for the man in the top hat. The little girl's voice, now echoing from all directions, begs again. "Val, please. Don't forget me this time." Val approaches the shadow, trembling between horror and aching remorse. The top hat tips forward. The man's hand, long and too many jointed, holds out a bloodied zoo badge. Her own employee badge. Val shakes her head, guilt rearing up. I tried not to see you, any of you. I just cleaned. I didn't want." He interrupts, voice deep and familial. "We all watch. We all close our eyes, hoping to survive the night. But when we look away, our shadows grow teeth. Thunder cracks. The glass around the building's exterior windows shatters at once. Outside, in the rolling dark, the night shifts souls, ghosts, or echoes flood the great lawn. Each one blurs between animal and worker, punished into memory. In that instant, Val sees the cycle. Every new night worker eventually meets their own shadow, repeating steps from a script that only the zoo's haunted core remembers, until one confesses or breaks, or becomes a new guide for the lost. The ceiling sags. The soft giggle returns, piercing Val's soul. The child is at her feet now, upturned face pleading. "You left me here. Show me you see me," she whispers. Val falls to her knees, wraps the child's ghost in shaking arms, finally allowing the truth to fill her. She was there the night a little girl wandered off, her distress drowned in Val's terror of breaking protocol. The girl was never found. Val sobs, every reflection around her screaming as glass liquefies. The man in the top hat kneels as well, face flickering, hand outstretched. Only with the entire, painful, hidden truth exposed does the room fall silent. What is forgiveness in a place built from denial? Val's act of finally seeing, finally holding, doesn't end the horror, because the zoo's curse was only waiting for one more honest admission. Does the truth break the cycle, or is Val now doomed to guide the next lost soul into the glass, wearing the top hat herself? When your guilt becomes the engine powering other people's nightmares, is escape even possible, or is the only hope to become the new sentinel, forever warning others not to look too close, not to remember, not to see? The ghosts crowd in, and in their eyes shines not just accusation but a plea. What happens when it's your turn to choose who gets out and who must stay behind? Silence drops heavy, absolute, as Val, the little girl, and the shadow all kneel in the shattered ruins of memory. Somewhere outside time, the zoo resets. Lights flicker back to life, the roars and chitters of animals resume, and the outlines of paths, buildings, and native trees snap back into crisp focus. But now Val can see every echo, every loop layered beneath reality. The first janitor, confused and lonely, chased by the shadow decades ago. The child who got lost amid a crowd on a field trip day and never left. The security guard who caught the shadow's reflection and never worked again. The supervisors who looked past strange reports until they, too, joined the roll call of the forgotten. The man in the top hat, her own father's features now turned solemn. Not monstrous, takes Val's hand and gently places the bloodied badge in her palm. You held it all together for so long. Now it's your shift. The little girl presses her forehead to Val's. Don't let them forget me. From every surface, windows, mirrors, even the steel of the break room fridge faces watch, each pleading with Val to remember, to help, to break the endless circuit of hiding from what they've done or failed to do. A heavy key appears in the palm of Val's hand, rusted, engraved with the year the zoo first opened. She knows somehow what must happen. To break the loop, the one who holds the key must open every locked door before dawn, letting memory and truth seep out. But the cost? Someone must always remain to witness, to keep the past alive for the next night's visitor. The top-hatted man's outline flickers, beginning to fade. He smiles. It was always yours to carry, Val. Val, finally standing tall, wipes her tears. Sorrow and fierce resolve twist in her chest. The ghosts scatter on the lawn, fading into the dark, but the little girl remains, her hand remarkably warm. Dawn is approaching. Val steps out onto the dew-soaked grass, the ancient key in her hand, preparing for her final round. She will let them all out or be trapped inside forever. With one final round remaining and the power to unlock every memory, Val faces an impossible question: can any soul truly escape a prison built from guilt and silence? Or do curses just change their custodians? Night's grip weakens as dawn approaches, but the threshold between inside and outside, freedom and legend, is thinner than glass. What lies beyond the final locked door? And whose reflection will remain when the sun rises? The top hat passes now not to a faceless ghost, but to a woman who remembers, and remorse is more terrifying than any monster. Will she free all the lost, or damn herself eternally to keep the zoo's stories from swallowing the next unwitting soul? The zoo is waking up, the edges of night curling with the faintest promise of dawn. But Val knows all too well now. The darkness isn't just in the sky, it lives in every forgotten corridor, every warped reflection, every memory the daytime world refuses to name. The key in her hand, it feels heavier than metal, the weight of generations. She starts her last circuit, footsteps echoing on pathways that seem to shift beneath her. Every building, every locked door, every place that hid secrets. The admin building's security doors yield to her touch now, and as she enters, she sees all the old ghosts huddled by their desks, some weeping, some staring accusingly. As Val turns the key in the service closet, their forms drift out, memories of people who once cleaned, once locked up, once hid the truth for just one more paycheck. They float past her with eyes full of gratitude and regret, vanishing as the doors swing open. She moves on. The Children's Education Annex, always the most haunted, oppressive in its stillness, thick with old energy. Val struggles with the lock, this time looking directly at the slate-gray glass of the entryway. Shadows crowd behind her in the reflection, including the little girl, her eyes pleading for a different ending. Val's hand shakes. She turns the key, and a torrent of cold air smashes into her, screaming voices, all finally allowed to be heard. Faces, teachers, children, campers, forgotten souls explode out into the morning air, their sorrow fading with the dawn. Last is the great lawn, now cloaked in low fog. The shadows cluster there, gathered amid dew and regret. The top-hatted man stands at the center, nodding gently. The lawn's ground cracks with every step Val takes, the glass just beneath the grass spiderwebbing a last barrier, thinner than ever. She plunges the key into the old iron gate, twisting with both hands, feeling every memory in her bones. The glass beneath the lawn shatters, but instead of plunging into darkness, light blazes from below. The spectral crowd rises skyward, their faces finally relaxed, the weight lifting as they disappear into a burning white horizon. All that remains are two figures, Val and the little girl. The zoo is empty and silent, the sky slowly brightening to a color that feels new in her eyes. But as Val stands, drained, relieved, expecting the sunrise's redemption, she catches a flicker in the glass of her own badge. Not her face. The little girl's. She steps away, ice running through her. The girl looks at Val with a kindness almost supernatural, but her shadow grows long, stretching across the grass, the beginnings of a top hat now flickering at its crown. The morning should represent freedom, but some debts can't be paid in a single night. As the last memory ghosts ascend and Val almost tastes release, she finds herself in the old place of the hunter and the hunted. Whose story is this? Really, who becomes the next guardian of secret sins? The next elusive reflection inside the zoo's glass labyrinth? Was this forgiveness or just the passing of the curse to a new form? A new innocent waiting to be devoured? The sun may rise, but shadows always return. And when history remakes monsters from ordinary people, how do you know it won't be your face in the reflection next time the sun goes down? Who really leaves the zoo at dawn and who never gets to wake up? Val feels herself fragmenting again, a chill running through her side as the little girl starts to dissolve, the sunrise taking pieces of her away. For a split moment she hopes maybe she's finally broken the cycle. Maybe the zoo is finally just a zoo. But the little girl tilts her head, sunlight filling her eyes, and whispers, "Don't forget. It's not finished." If even one story is left untold, the hunger returns. She reaches toward Val, their hands connecting, and instantly, a flood of fresh memories engulfs Val. Every discarded secret from every shift, every guilt-swallowed silence, every "it's probably nothing." The noise is crushing. Then, calm as ever, the little girl steps backwards. Her smile becomes glassy, her shadows impossibly tall. The sound of children laughing, warped and hollow, reverberates around the great lawn. In the reflection of the empty lion enclosure's glass, Val sees not herself, but the zoo. Endless paths, locked doors, masks and uniforms, memories waiting to be denied. Back in the break room, the radio sputters to life. A familiar static. The voice isn't hers. "This is Alex Turner, New Park Services night shift, checking in. Anyone copy?" Val looks up, horror and hope wrestling in her lungs. On the table, her name badge pulses with an inner light. In the window, a faint, unmistakable silhouette, a girl in a top hat, watching. Dawn breaks and Val smiles, half in relief, half in terror, knowing she's written the first line of a new story, and the cycle is set for another turn. Someone always has to watch. Someone always has to remember. Behind her, the shadows recede, reluctant, waiting for the next night, the next confession, the next sacrifice. What lingers after dawn isn't light, but the stains of what you can't outrun. Val has broken free. Or has she simply stepped into the place behind the glass so another can play her part? The zoo remains, awake and hungry under morning's gold, its paths dusted in secrets and its heart beating with stories no one living dares retell. Now a new night worker will walk those creaking halls, hear those voices, see those faces pressed against the glass, and sooner or later, the man in the top hat, or the child, or the shadow belonging to no one and everyone. When the world tilts towards night again, whose nightmare will you inherit? There's a peculiar calm as Val steps into the sunlight, the zoo's main gates yawning open. She breathes in the morning air, feels the ache in old muscles that don't quite belong to her. An unfamiliar badge hangs from her neck, a name she doesn't know, but she remembers everything. The ghosts are gone. The children's laughter plays only in the trees. The cleaners, the supervisors, the night shift souls, they've all left their imprint. Deep beneath the grass, inside the glass, in the stilled air of the education center. She sees a young man, Alex Turner, freshly hired, bright-eyed, and not yet afraid, approaching with his own battered cart. He waves, unaware of the centuries in his shadow. Val wants to warn him, to whisper, "Don't watch the glass. Don't answer the voices. Don't let the night convince you to forget." But she knows warnings aren't enough. The cycle can only be broken by admitting what was done, by finally seeing what we spend our lives avoiding. Behind her, the break room flickers out of phase just for a second. In its window, two shadows stand. The man with the top hat, his outline grown hazy, and the child now holding the old key. They nod. The past is never gone. It just finds a new face. Val turns away from the zoo, steps into the daylight, and for the first time feels not freedom, but a strange, humbling peace. The curse endures, but in every broken cycle, there's a little more hope, A little more clarity, a little more of the truth waiting to be found by those brave, or desperate enough to last the night. As she walks, the radio chirps behind her unanswered. The breeze stirs the grass, and somewhere, faint but real, someone laughs. The zoo is waiting, and across the glass someone someday will look in and finally see themselves. Every story the zoo devours leaves a shadow behind one day. You'll recognize it by the way your own reflection refuses to look away.